Hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? We're going to wait a couple more moments here to make sure everybody hops on. I hope everybody's doing well. Just want to make sure, if you could let me know if everybody can hear me, I'd appreciate it. Okay, looks like everybody can hear me. We're gonna get ready. We're gonna get started here. Hope everybody is doing well today. Let me just do this. I'm gonna make sure. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, I can see that we've got some folks here chiming in. Hey, Carla. Hey, Kozlowski. How you doing? I've got Mary. How are you doing today, Mary? I see a bunch of people here today. Hope everybody is doing well today. Let me just see if anybody could just type in there. If you could let me know if you can hear me and you can see my screen. Pete, what's going on, buddy? How are you, my friend? Hope you're doing well, man. I liked your vacuum cleaner picture, buddy. Hope everybody is doing well. All right, we're going to get rocking and rolling here. So welcome, everybody. We're going to start today. We're going to be talking today about the power of a big idea. And we're also going to be talking about a rock solid sales argument. So we are going to get rocking and rolling here. So hang on one second. All right. So welcome. So first off, what is a sales argument? We're going to talk a little bit about what exactly a sales argument is and why a sales argument is so important to your marketing funnel, to your marketing, everything that you're doing in your marketing. Why is a sales argument so unbelievably important if it's formatted properly, and why your big idea is so important? So when we think about a sales argument, the first thing we need to do is take a look at what in fact a sale is, and what do we consider a sale. And when we see here, we take a look at the definition of a sale. The sale is an exchange of a commodity for money, and it's the action of selling something, obviously, but really we're going to focus on the exchange of a commodity for money, the commodity being what it is that you have to offer versus the money in somebody else's bank account. And why is that exchange worthwhile for that person? Why would they want to exchange the money in their bank account for the commodity that you have to offer? And when we talk about an argument, what we are talking about is not the first definition here, where we see an exchange of diverging or opposite views. What we're talking about is a reason or a set of reasons given with the aim of persuading others that an action or idea is right or wrong. So when we're talking about a sales argument collectively, A sales argument is a reason or set of reasons given with the aim of persuading others that the action of exchanging their money, what they have in their bank account, for the commodity that you possess or have access to is a correct decision to make. And more importantly, not making that said exchange is an incorrect decision. So when we talk about the sales argument, we look at when the sales argument is used. And first off, the sales argument typically, for me anyway, it started out face-to-face sales presentations. It started out basically knocking on doors and getting inside somebody's home, and then talking to them about what it is that that I have to offer them. Then we also have selling from the stage. I just recently got back. I recently got back from the GKIC event. I don't know if any of you else were there, but the GKIC event, if you've been to any of these marketing events, you know that when folks get on the stage, typically there's a sales presentation coming, and you know that that's what the result or the end of the presentation is going to be. We also have sales phone calls, of course. Both myself and a number of guys on our team, we have phone calls every single day with clients, prospective clients, in discussing what it is that we have to offer at Marketing Funnel Automation. Certainly retail packaging. I don't know how many of you have ever had this experience, but it's often that when we go to the grocery store, my wife will inevitably walk up to a package that she really has no clue what's inside of it, but she'll look at the package and she'll say, "Wow, this looks good," without actually really even knowing what it is that's inside of it, just from the labeling, the packaging. But on that packaging, typically there is a sales argument being made for the purchase of that good. We also have sales letters, of course. We get them in our mail every single day, and then VSLs, product launches, etc. The interesting thing, as we look down this list, as we go down, the ability to react, the ability to evaluate what is going on. So, for example, in the face-to-face sales presentations, I can see what somebody's eyeballs are doing. I can see what their body language is doing. I can understand exactly what it is that their body is telling me. If I make a statement about something, if I'm selling mattresses to somebody or ninja swords or whatever, and I make a statement that my ninja sword is the best ninja sword on planet Earth, and they tend to roll their eyes or show me a body language movement that I can detect, and that's what differentiates anyway from the guys that are in-house, the good sales guys from the mediocre or average sales guys, is the ability to read their client, to read their prospect, and determine what it is that they're doing to determine what direction to go with the sale. Same thing for selling from the stage. Whenever you're involved in selling from the stage, you can also react to the body language. Body language is the most important type of language when it comes to the sales process. Same thing for phone calls. We don't have the body language, but we do have the interaction with the prospect. We can ask questions. We can have checking questions. We can understand, what it is that that they're telling us. Just oh, the list is not visible. Is that for everybody? I just see that. Is that true? You don't see the, does everybody see this list that is on my screen right now? I see Kozlowski tells me that it is not. Okay, so if anybody can't see my screen, just do me a favor. No list. I'm sorry. M. Watkins says there's no list. Okay. What is it that you see on my screen? Because that's strange. It's just the first page. Huh. Hang on one second. I'm sorry about that, guys. Just give me one moment here. Tell me if everybody can see this better. Can everybody see this now? Perfect. Okay. What is a sales argument? Thank you. Thank you, guys. Sorry about that. So, so as we go down this list, face-to-face sales presentations, selling from the stage, sales phone calls. We can gauge what the prospect is telling us by their body language. We can gauge what they're how they're reacting towards the conversation. Retail packaging, I mean, listen, if we wanted to go and if we had a bunch of packages set up, we could sit there and we can take a look and spy on some people. But really, sales letters and VSLs, product launches, we can't in any way, shape, or form detect what is going on with that prospect. So why it's important to evaluate your audience reaction in real time. You can determine the effectiveness of your argument. It cues the presenter again from the stage. You'll often notice that when presenters are presenting from the stage, they may ask a question. It might be a rhetorical question. They want to see how many hands go up. They want to see how many people are paying attention, and they can actually adapt and redirect their presentation from the reaction of the audience. It offers you the best opportunity and possibility to sell if you can gauge that reaction, and you can use that data for future presentations. Again, if I said something that may have offended somebody at one point, I know not to say that again because I can use that data for future presentations. The disadvantages of not being able to evaluate reaction real time is we don't really get a feel for how the conversation is going. So if a lot of you folks are running your marketing funnels, if you have like a video sales letter, or if you have maybe even a product launch or a short form or long form sales letter, it'd be very challenging to determine exactly how that conversation inside the head of that person is going. So we can't read body language. We can't gauge normal everyday social cues. And again, the conversation that's going inside of the head is very difficult for us to gauge. And in order to fly blind with your sales argument, you need to use these three components really to have a successful sales argument. The first is psychology, the second is communication, and the third is arithmetic. So for psychology, what psychology does is we can actually be able to predict and understand the behavior of individuals and groups by using certain techniques and using different types of ways that we communicate through using psychology. We can really predict and understand what the behavior, what the outcome is going to be, because we know that certain words, certain ways that we say things are going to make people feel a particular way. We can understand how to use and interpret the data through psychology, and we can also control that behavior. The second is communication, your tone of voice. I had a client who went through our partnership coaching program, and she had gone through everything step by step. She had done everything exactly as our partnership coaching program lays out throughout the course of 8 weeks. She set up her EBM content properly, which we'll talk about in a moment. Everything was done properly. And when she went to launch her funnel, she noticed that she wasn't getting conversions. So we had her send to us her funnel. We took a look at exactly what was going on. And what we found was, as she was talking about her, as she was giving her video sales letter, she was talking like this the entire time. And there was no voice inflection whatsoever. There was no change of tone. It was just like that. And it was very easy to spot why there was no transfer of that. Again, she could have been providing a ton of value. She could have been providing an exceptional amount of goods for the dollar amount, but people weren't getting that far because of her tone of voice. The cadence and the pace of the sales argument. People like me and Pete, we're from New York and New Jersey. We tend to talk pretty fast, but the reality is that we need to be able to talk at a pace that is recognizable, it's just able to understand exactly what the prospect is listening to, and then the EBM content. So in our sales argumentation, we're going to talk about this in a moment, but the EBM content is critical. And this is really how we at Marketing Funnel Automation position all of our sales arguments. So most marketers have a tendency, when they decide to launch a product, or when they make a decision that they want to begin to sell their product or service, they throw up on people. And that's I mean, that's a term that I've used for my sales guys when I'm training sales guys. You never want to throw up on the client. And throwing up on the client sounds, basically like, I'm the best. We have the best product. It's going to knock your socks off. You're going to love it. Blah, 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 blah. You're just throwing up. And that's what most people have the tendency to do in their sales presentations and their sales argumentation. Through EBM content, never at any point, if it's done properly, never at any point does it sound in any way, shape, or form like a sales pitch. If your marketing sales letter or your video sales letter or your whatever it may be, your product launch, if it ever sounds salesy, that is going in the wrong direction, because it's very difficult for, number one, the prospect to believe what you're saying, because you obviously have a vested interest in selling your product. Whereas if you were using EBM content throughout the process, you were educating your prospect to the point where they feel as if they'd be worse off if they stop this presentation now, and they'd be missing out because they weren't getting educated enough throughout the course of this presentation. That is how you want your presentations to go, using the EBM content. And arithmetic. So everybody on here is super savvy marketers. You all know that the very first number that you want to look at, the very first number that you want to you want to take notice to is your return on investment. So we had a client who had come to us and had said, look, I want you to take a look at my funnel. I can't identify where we're going wrong, right? I can't identify what's happening here. And their product was a $499 product, and their investment at that point in advertising was $120. So they put a stop to their marketing campaign. They put a stop to everything, because they looked and they saw at $120 they were getting plenty of opt-ins, but they weren't getting any sales. And the reality is that they didn't give that funnel the opportunity to see it all the way through, because if it got to $498 spent with zero return, and then the next person clicked the buy button, they've reached their return on investment at that point. They're at break even. They're at revenue neutral. So that's the first number. That's the first barometer that we're going to use for the effectiveness of a funnel. Key indicators to gauge funnel checkpoints. And when we look at a funnel, we look at it like this: if there's excuse me, 4 basic components to a minimum viable funnel, which is the opt-in page, the sales page, the order form, and the thank you page. Those 4 pages, if you look at a minimum viable funnel as those 4 pages, we're going to use those as checkpoints along the way. We're going to make a decision whether or not our funnel is going in the right direction by what each checkpoint is telling us. And then we're going to be able to identify the constraints in the funnel and make a decision as to how we want to proceed. So those 3 things alone, the communication, the psychology, and the arithmetic, those 3 things alone, using those you're looking at 3 separate categories. That's what's going to be able to tell us whether or not we have a winning funnel, obviously. But that's really what this whole game comes down to, are those 3 things. And that's exactly why Todd came out with ConversionFly, because of the arithmetic piece of it. The arithmetic piece is literally like when you're flying a plane, you know what decision to make off of the instruments. If you make the wrong decision, then obviously we know what happens there. But when you're flying a plane, when you're learning to fly a plane, and when you get your certification to fly at nighttime, they literally, from what I understand anyway, I haven't gone through this process, but they will close the windshield down. They'll put a blind over the windshield, so you have zero ability to look outside of that window. So just like what we're talking about with the sales argument, you have no ability really to gauge how your funnel is flying, if you will. We're going to use the metrics, we're going to use the tools, we're going to use the arithmetic to tell us what exactly is going on. Now, getting into the juicy stuff, what is a big idea? So the reason why we started with sales argumentation there, because if you don't have a rock solid sales argument, then your big idea doesn't work. Your big idea has to correlate to your sales argument. And the big idea, let's talk about what a big idea is, because this is something that actually took me a little bit of time to grasp and understand. But a big idea is intellectually interesting and emotionally compelling, and it incorporates a unique mechanism and the primary purpose of your product or service. So this is a formula that you can kind of use as a template to put over whether or not you think you have a big idea. This can give you an indication as to whether or not you have a big idea. And we're going to look at a couple of big ideas here in a moment. So why do we want to use a big idea? Well, you can no longer get away with simply stating a powerful benefit in the headline. Every good experienced marketer does that. And if you look at every headline, and inevitably when we're working with clients and we ask them to come to us and tell us why their product is better or why it is that that their service is more should be more attractive to me than anybody else's service, they'll inevitably say, well, we provide the best service, or we are our product is just plain better than everybody else's. And that doesn't convey your message very well. And same thing, it's just a natural tendency to say, you know, we supply the world's highest quality banjos. That there's just so much of a tendency to go in that direction because that's what you think you need to say in order to sell your banjos. We have the highest quality, you know, banjos on planet Earth. And if you don't have a rock solid big idea that cuts through that noise, you're not going to get noticed. You must have a new and interesting way to say what everybody else is saying or has said many times before. So same thing. We're talking about selling banjos, and you say that I have the highest quality banjo on planet Earth. It's the same thing that everybody else is saying. You need to be different. I heard, I forget who the presenter was that said this. It may have been Sally Hogshead, I don't know, but she had said that being different, and you may have heard that before, but it resonated so well with me, being different is better than being better. And that's exactly what we're talking about here with a big idea, that you need to be different. And you must jar the prospect out of complacency. And the two core components are the benefit and the curiosity. Again, we talked about that just a moment ago. Intellectually interesting, emotionally compelling. So here's an example of a big idea. And I'd like to see, and I know probably Pete has seen this one before, but if you haven't seen this one before, what I'd like to ask you folks, if you want to type into the chat, so let me just read to you the headline: why an ex-CIA officer wants to send to you a small and discreet package for free. Soon, a total of 250 small boxes will be shipped to the doorsteps of 250 regular Americans. Lives will be changed and saved. So take a guess as to what you might think that they're selling with this headline and this big idea. If you want to type in the chat, let me know. What is it that you think that they're attempting to sell here? What is it at the end of this funnel? What is the product or service that you, if you were to take a guess, what are they selling here? Let's see. I don't know if my internet is running a little slow here. Either my internet is out or we got a bunch of stumped people here. So what the sale is here, once you get to the end of this funnel, once you keep moving through this process, once you get to the end of this funnel, what they're selling is a financial newsletter. And the reason why I say that is if you take a look here, why an ex-CIA officer wants to send you a small and discreet package for free. How would you normally take those two items, and how would you put those two together so at the end of the funnel you would end up with a financial newsletter? Well, that's what these folks, they did just that. And Afra says, that's right, Afra, you're absolutely right. It's a financial product, dead on. Then let's take a look at the next one, because we have an election coming up. We have worse versus worser in the election coming up. Here's the let's just take a look here. Will Democrats lose the White House because of this video? Doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter. This is intellectually interesting and emotionally compelling, and it gives the prospect the desire to know what this is talking about. Kozlowski said, can't read the headline. Arndt says Todd Brown's old sneakers. So will Democrats lose the White House because of this video? And when you get to the end of this funnel, what you arrive at is a health newsletter. So interestingly enough, you know, the folks that write that are the newsletter publications, they typically they have a stranglehold, if you will, on big idea creation, because they have to cut through the noise that is out there. The level of sophistication is so unbelievably high in that space. They have to cut through the noise, and that's why big idea creation is so unbelievably important. So I've kind of sped through this presentation again because New Jersey, from New Jersey, and what I want to talk about is how do you get your big idea? Because the reality is, how does it become real for you? And I want to tell you some secrets that I use when we're crafting a big idea for a client. What are some things that we do to arrive at a big idea? The first thing that we say is that you write down everything. There is no idea too small. There's no idea too silly, too stupid. Whatever you think it is, write it down. Write down your idea. So when you're thinking about what it is that you want to do for your product in order to craft your big idea, you're going to want to write down 5 or 6 conversations that you would have with a prospect. So if you were to just visualize, if you were to be talking with somebody that is, let's just say, for example, in a restaurant, and you were to talk to them about why it's important to buy your service, your product, write down what that conversation would sound like. If you were talking to, for example, your ideal prospect, once you start physically writing these conversations down, and you start jotting down ideas, that's how the big idea begins to emerge for me, for our team, and how it starts to flesh out a little bit. Then what we like to do is we like to take 2 typically unrelatable ideas, and we try to marry the 2 and connect the dots. So let's just say, for example, you were selling banjos, and you were trying to craft a big idea, and you wanted to connect the dots between something that's intellectually interesting and emotionally compelling. Well, how would you connect the dots with Donald Trump and banjos? And then you can kind of, and again, just an example there, but if you start to connect the dots there, now it becomes part of what's going on right now. It's fresh, it's in the news, it's 2 things that you can connect, and now it becomes intellectually interesting and emotionally compelling to the prospect. Now, I'm not saying to do something unethical and take something that absolutely has no relation to the other and just connect them anyway. I'm saying see if you can find a relationship between the 2, because once you start digging deeper and deeper and deeper, you can find how you can connect certain things so that you can cut through that noise, so that the prospect is going to see a difference in what it is that you're offering than what everybody else is offering. And that's exactly really the guts of and the heart of direct response marketing, is cutting through that noise and getting the prospect to look at what it is that you have to say, because what it is that you have to say is it needs to be in front of the prospect, and what you have to say, because you believe in your product, you believe in your service. Certainly, you want to be able to get that message across. You don't want your message to fall flat. You don't want your what it is that you're saying to turn into more noise, because that's how we lose. How we win is by cutting through that noise, having a big idea, having a unique mechanism that gives the prospect the idea that things are going to be different this time. Things are going to change because now I have this. Now I have the flavor crystals in the gum. The flavor crystals are going to change everything. I almost feel like I've never actually experienced gum before until I tried gum with flavor crystals. That's a unique mechanism. Another example of a unique mechanism that I give is when my wife and I, we were going to a farmer's market. They were selling honey. And we bought our honey, our apples, everything like that. And then the guy at the counter, Mr. Crawford, says to me, "Hey, Dave, have you ever tried the Vietnamese cinnamon?" Excuse me. And I said, "No, I've never tried the Vietnamese cinnamon before. Tell me about the Vietnamese cinnamon." And he went on to explain why cinnamon in Vietnam is different than cinnamon everywhere else on the planet. It has the perfect climate, the perfect whatever soil to grow. I don't even know how cinnamon is made. I mean, I'm sure it's a plant of some sort. But anyway, my point is that he almost had me believing that I never even tried cinnamon before. So when we're talking about the unique mechanism, the big idea, that's how we cut through the noise. That's how we get to the prospect so that they are taking a look at what it is that we have to offer so that we can then get to the sales argumentation and make the exchange of their money in their bank account for what it is that we have to offer. So the other thing I want to say here is that certainly metaphor is used, I mean, a tremendous rhetorical tool that I would recommend using when you're trying to think of your big idea. And when you put all these things in place, you create a metaphor, you write down those 5 or 6 conversations, you write down every idea, no big or not too big or not too small. That's when your big idea starts to emerge. You connect 2 things that are not normally connectable. Okay, so last thing here is if you need or if you have a challenge in crafting your big idea, totally listen, I'm going to take the pressure off everybody. I'm not selling anything today. Total soft offer here, which is contact me. Literally contact me for free, no charge. Here is my the link to my calendar here. So if you go to this this link here, it'll give you an opportunity to schedule a complimentary strategy session with me. Certainly, you know, Todd came to me, and he's a pretty good negotiator himself, and he said, I want you to offer a free strategy session to all the folks on ConversionFly. And I said, absolutely, Todd, I'll do it, you know, and I'll offer that to your folks for free. So because of that, again, please take me up on that. I hope to talk to you guys soon. Let's see if there's any questions on here that no, I don't see anything. So Kozlowski, the benefit in the Democrat use sorry, what's the benefit in the Democrat use White House big deal? Maybe lose the White House big. So again, at the end of that at the end of that funnel comes a newsletter, a health related newsletter. But if you're asking where's the benefit in the headline doesn't always necessarily have to express the benefit right up front. So I hope that helps. Any other questions? So, okay, so Jennings says, so the big idea is to come up with grabbing local topic and then find a way to connect it to my big idea. That's one way of doing it, sure. It doesn't have to be a local topic. One of the things that you know, like Todd gave the example, if you were in our partnership coaching program, there was an example of and it was really time related, you know, to when that headline came out, and it was basically how to attract social attention online using the same tactics that Obama used to win the White House. So because of that, I mean, even today, that would still be somewhat relevant because we know that there was like that whether you like him or you hate him, it doesn't matter. Obama ran a flawless campaign. I think we can all agree on that. He ran an absolutely flawless campaign in order to get elected. So the point is that that Todd took a topic that was fresh for that time, and he used it towards how do I get as much social media attention online using the same techniques that President Obama did to get elected. Yeah, current topic. That's exactly, yeah. So again, you know, that is definitely something that I would definitely look at. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, that has to be the way. That's one way to grab attention. Any other questions here? Let's see here. Okay, I don't. I don't see. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for hopping on the call with me here today. Again, if you have a moment and you want to discuss your big idea, I'd love to talk to you about that. And just hop on my calendar here, which is marketingfunnelautomation.com/go/get David. Thank you, Jennings. Thank you, Pete. Great having you on here, buddy. And we will talk to you guys again later. So thanks so much. I think we have some other fantastic presentations coming up for you guys from the Marketing Funnel Automation team. So you guys can get rolling with your marketing with your funnels. So thanks again so much, guys. I really appreciate it. And and we will talk soon. Talk to you soon, Pete.